Hello, lads, and welcome to Untier Talk. Man, I've really picked up lads just from you British people. It's kind of crazy. That was never a word I used. It just entered my vernacular through all the Brits in PU. Speaking of Brits, Sajad is here. It's just us two today.
What's up,
Or
boys?
tonight, or tomorrow morning in your case. Whatever it is. The morning it goes up for most people. Okay, there's been some PU stuff. We're mostly going to focus on PPL, but we did have tier shifts. I don't think there's much for us to really say about Flapple Thievel and Gorgai Super. Like, we talked at length about Thievel, why we wanted it banned. It survived one vote. Gorgai Super is just like the other Gorgeists. Flapple, that's totally new, but, like, it was super broken. I don't think we need to, like...
Mhm.
Is anyone really surprised that the strong hustle dragon was like just breaking everything? I don't think so. Um, there were other things we got in tier shifts though. We got more Pekko and Flareon and the Doug trios, and those are all pretty cool. I guess we can talk briefly about more Pekko because that actually got voted on, and there's like a decent chance it could end up being broken or whatever. How do you feel on that so far?
I haven't seen too much of it, honestly. Like, I don't know what its best set is, but it seems maybe a bit overwhelming. I haven't like played too much with it, so um, yeah, I'll guess I'll just abstain from saying anything too much.
Mm-hmm. I think in certain ways it is very dumb. It can kind of get into a loop where it will just like speed boost and then parting shot on whatever you want to revenge kill it pretty nicely, whether that's like a tank that eats or whether that's something that would normally outspeed or whatever. Um, that can be incredibly annoying, but it's real frail and it kind of loses to a lot of the best mons. When I was really afraid Morpeko was going to be broken, we didn't really have the same kind of like the Doug trios, the Galarian Rapidash, the why am I blanking on the Mon's name? It's the Galarian Mr. Mime. That's the thing. Like any of these Pokemon that outspeed, um, we didn't have as much of those. I was like, okay, it'll probably be able to speed boost a lot, and then just parting shot out on whatever's like gonna try to revenge kill it. But now in this meta, we actually have like enough convincing faster things that it doesn't always do that for free. Um, and then when it does, there's kind of enough fat, reasonable things that can tank and check it. Throw is good and Tangle is good and Hitmonchan is good and whatever. That I can really see it balanced. Um, but it's going to be a quest to balance it. I think it's still going to be like a question because if people figure out the right ways to just set up and abuse this mon, um, then yeah, like I said, it can be real tricky when it kind of just speed boosts on everything. But right now we're in a meta where there's
Alternating.
there's a lot of things that automatically outspeed it, and there's a lot of things that chew hits from it because it's really not that strong. And I think there's actually a decent chance it stays balanced. I'm really hoping it won't like suddenly prove to be crazy and just blow up this next week at PUBL. But I think we're good.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm as optimistic, I guess is the word. I just think the idea of like an alternating 110 base stab is really crazy. Like,
It's so weird. Like it is really weird. But so far, I really think it kind of works. It's not great for Morpeko. Even running Protect and stuff. Let's say they go into Appleton and you're on the electric form and you protect, but that gives it the chance to recover up to full or whatever. Like, it can definitely be really grimy. I'm afraid, but like, I'm getting more confident that maybe it's gonna be fine, or at least like something we should suspect, but something that's not immediately ruining all the games it's in. If that.
yeah, I mean, something can be broken and not be ruining games.
Mhm.
I think it's that's been proven over the years that you can ban something that's just a nightmare to prepare for. But I don't know. Yeah, yeah, we haven't seen too much of it, so I guess we'll cross our fingers and
Yeah,
hope it's
I
balanced.
I have not had time to play this. I have barely played since the vote. I haven't touched this game. I've been going back and forth from the fucking hospital. It's been a crazy week. I haven't even started prepping anything. Um, we should get into the recap of last week though. Real brief, I'll just say if you haven't checked out the last council minutes that was posted, that had a lot of info on PU going forward, council change, what's going to be with suspects, future tournaments. We got snake drafts starting up. We got the confirmation of the PU World Cup that's definitely happening that we've talked about on Discord but never really announced. The next mini tour is going to be ADV PU, stuff like that. So if you're following PU and for some reason missed that, you really should check it out. But anyway, week 7, this was going to be the big determiner of who gets into playoffs and all the questions surrounding that, with 4 teams competing for the final spot. And it honestly kind of ended pretty early. We had a lot of good games this week, but the real playoffs contention kind of went out the window pretty quickly because Meowstics did pretty good. We had like an early like 4-1 lead that really took a lot of the concern out of things. And in hindsight, looking at the records people got, it could have been way closer. Um, like the Bearticks and the Meowstics and the Dracloaks won. There could have been a lot more contention, but Meowstics kind of came ahead so fast. I didn't really feel a big pressure there, if you know what I mean.
Mm. Yeah, I feel like it's harder. I mean, it can put more pressure on you, especially with the last couple games. But if you start the week well and you just like feel confident in your team, it can just really like help out almost that you start off well.
Yeah, yeah, I think that was real good. We'll get to the Meowstick series eventually. That was just more about the overall week. We can start off with the Clangs versus the Dens. Clangs need to have like a massive victory to even have a shot of making it in, and this ended up being kind of a nothing burger of a series. You guys like didn't really do much, kind of just got people in for fun because you already guaranteed in. Um, and Clangs were like trying to make a bit of a push, but nothing much came of it. And they didn't even get Lax in this week. I think he just checked out. Um, so it ended up being a boring series. We almost only had 6 games played, but it ended up being 7. SS, I don't really think any of these games were that interesting at all. Um, it was funny that
Yeah,
Luigi.
nah.
It was really funny though that Luigi and Sergio brought really similar teams. Uh, Despite Luigi being on your team, Sergio being on the other team, there was both the some Thievel Shinotic stuff I thought was funny. But other than that, I don't think any of the games were super interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the wins the wins on our side with Sky Soda and Osh were, if I recall correct, they were quite convincing. Like they
Osh
were just
didn't
sort of nothing
Osh didn't
games that.
play. Osh got activity in one of the SS games. You had Luigi lose to Piff, and you had
Oh
Sky
yeah,
Solo beat Sergio.
yeah. I think with Soto's game, I think it was where it was like he had like an early lead and it was just about not losing it, and Luigi sort of choked in end game, which I mean it's understandable. He got
Yeah,
a bit lucky, but
the Luigi
with like
game was hard because your only on pheasant check was a type null, um,
yeah, 100%.
which makes things like just kind of difficult to play around. There's no like stun fix to paralyze it. It was also T Wave type null and T Wave Shinotic to support Marowak and Thievel. I thought that was pretty cool. It just like
Mm,
didn't really end up doing much.
yeah, I mean he told me that he didn't want to lose to Storm, so I gave him the team that didn't lose to Storm, and he didn't bring Storm, and we ended up being really pressured by the unpheasant. He did
Mm-hmm.
actually quite well to hack his way into a winning position. Uh, but yeah, it was just the unpheasant. It was just a bit too much in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Sergio versus Sky Solo was just kind of a game. Um, One of those things that happens. You're like, yeah, that was a game of Pokemon. I didn't see anything much worth going over. Sergio did have a fun bulk up Hitmonchan, which I've been seeing more people using, but it was Mach Punch instead of Bullet Punch, and it got revenge killed by a Galarian Rapidash, and that was kind of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, we had SM games. You guys did not sweep SM for once. Soulgazer took his very first loss to Gum with an Ursaring Webs team. Uh,
Yeah,
that was something.
I, yeah, I can't help but feel that this game was choked, but I don't think so. Like it was how it was played was just sort of like constant like could Soul Gazer like pressure enough because at the end of the day the Rotom Frost or the Raichu without terrain, or the Raichu without web, sorry, was good enough to like volt switch on everything and like maintain the offensive pressure. The only thing that could pressure them was the uh, what was it? The Lichen Rock. That's
Yeah,
what it
the
was. And
Lycanroc
then
outsped the Raichu.
yeah, so that was the one thing that stopped those two from clean sweeping. Um, and we had a Mudsdale for that. But what we didn't counteract for was a Water Spout offensive Jellicent. So it came down to like 50-50s with the Mudsdale and
Mm-hmm.
the double
Some
or
Destiny
the not
Bond
double.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, and like
it was like
I'm hard pressed to really say Soul Gazer like definitively fucked up any one situation. It was just going to be kind of hard. Interestingly
he
enough,
just
like
lost a lot of them.
yeah, even he did lose a lot of them, but I can't really go like any one of them. Like none of them were really crazy plays. This was just one of those matchups where you got to get the stuff right because Gum had good stuff to pressure Soul Gazer. Like despite
Yeah, Gum.
the no real electric resist versus the dual electrics, like Gum really like had good tools to do this, and that kind of was the thing. Um,
Yeah, I don't like Gum's team at all. To be honest, I
no, it's like
just think it was a
it's a funny web steam, but like it totally works versus Soulgazer's team. So
yeah, it feels to me like a I don't know, like a I don't know. I've given up. Let's use webs and try and cheese a win. It just sort of it gives me vibe, and I
it
don't like that.
does,
I don't know.
and I would totally say that. Except like I can totally get why you would bring webs just based on what Soulgazer's been using. If you feel me,
Yeah, fair enough.
like
Fair enough.
that's why I don't immediately want to jump to that. On the other hand, yeah, that totally might be true. But the other
Mm,
game, you had Estarossa versus Everardo. I thought this one was actually pretty fun. Esta
mm,
had a like a pretty basic hail team, interesting
mm.
stuff. And Everardo, you kind of just loaded up with the old Sableye fat. Um, and yeah, this was kind of just a fun back and forth game. I thought Everardo and Esta definitely fucked up the end game, but for a while they both had like a pretty good handle on their win cons, and eventually Esta was just like too pressured by Aggron and Combuskin. But I thought this was definitely like a
Mm.
decent quality game.
Yeah, I like this game. I enjoyed this game. Yeah, there's not really much else to be said. It was just a really close, nice match.
Mm-hmm.
I do like Esther's team as well.
Yeah. Um. Oh no, I'm sorry. Two games weren't played. There's no Oras. Kyo versus Teddy never happened. So we can jump right into Black White, where we had Toy Time King play Boof. Toy Time King had a fascinating team, a Goth Trap with Combine Murkrow and Sword Stance Meganium, and it could have been pretty cool. It's a really whack team that he went for, and you just kind of loaded up Boof with a basic thing that he didn't know some Black White stuff, and it really hurt him.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't
Booth
know
built his
that.
own team this week.
Oh, he built this.
Yeah, he built this.
Oh, it's yeah. I'd never seen it. I just didn't think he would build for this week. That's actually really interesting. But he didn't know that in Black White you can trap ghosts, and got his Frillish trapped by Gotharita, and that ended up being like really critical because Frillish was actually putting in a lot of work here, stopping Toy Time King's Perugly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but without that, I really do like Boof's team. This was pretty fucking cool. Um,
Yeah, I did actually like how he built it. I just thought maybe it could have been a bit of Maractus. Like there might have been a Maractus issue,
yeah, it's
potentially.
definitely
But
I definitely think it has issues with like between Torterra, Zweilous, and Frillish. It ends up being a little bit like fat and slow. But I think it's the kind of team that even though you're definitely not gonna have fun with Maractus and whatever, you've got some really powerful mons to put stuff back in your favor. So if you like play that well enough, it's not undoable. The way
yeah,
some teams
that's what I told him.
just kind of fold. So
Mm-hmm.
I liked that. But it was a shame that like the goth thing caught him totally off guard and really messed him up. And then DPP happened. This was just kind of a stupid game.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, to be honest. It's just this is where my like lack of DPP just really like confuses me.
Spatial just didn't play well. There's not much more to it. Turn one
Yeah.
taunts a Gorbis when he should never have and loses Mischievous. Then sacks the Banded Gibite that would have been real nice to have versus Alice's team, trying to make a just like over predicting, which I get it's DBP, it's hard. You don't know if Alice has a ground immunity in the back, which they did, but it turned out to be Murkrow. They weren't going to sack that, but yeah, losing Gibite really early also just kind of fucked them up real bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think with this game, the vibe that I got from it was that Spatial was way like he was predicting against somebody like 5 turns in the future. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like he was way thinking, I don't know, so offensively that like it was just sort of like free pickings at a certain point for Alice.
Yeah, it's like the thing with no preview where you really want to like call out what they have in the back, and I'm gonna Dragon Claw with Gibite versus their Muck because they're gonna go out to a Zatu or whatever, and then when it doesn't work out, you just look kind of dumb, and that happens.
Yeah.
It'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah. 100%.
Clangs
I
did
think
not end up having a chance anyway. They needed all three teams to lose, and all three teams won. So that's it for the Clangs. They did not the worst this tour, but not the best.
the second worst.
Second worst, yeah. The Clangs ended in
Worst.
second to last place.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, minus 9. Okay, well, I guess that moves on to Beartix versus Octilleries. Beartix had to win while the other two teams lost. They might have made it if Dracloaks tied, actually. Yeah, no, they need Meowstics to lose, Dracloaks to tie. That didn't happen, but they finally managed to come back and win last week after really slumping. Yogi leaving could be part of that, but yeah, the team kind of real dipped at the end of the season, and it was nice to see them at least take a victory versus the Octilleries in a 5-3 fashion. SS was a bit more interesting. I don't know if you remember Tony versus ZS at all.
I actually can't. No.
No.
Let me try and find it.
Yeah, this was a really weird game. Tony has a Thievul that looks. I linked you the replay thread, by the way. It's in those links. It's the second
Tony,
link.
Tony's using my team.
Oh, this is yours.
Yeah, this is my team.
I didn't realize. Tony had a Thievul, and the Thievul could have done a lot of work. Like a lot of work. For a lot of this game, it could have been absolutely devastating. And Thievul only came in like once and never killed anything, and it was really inexplicable because that was really all ZS needed to win, to not have the Broken Mon getting kills, like when it just absolutely could have been. Okay, yeah, no, it killed the Appleton, and then that was it. Zia sacked Appleton, went to like and revenged it, and that's literally all Thievul did when it could have just done so much work this game. So that was kind of fucked up. But the Beartix at least did win the other two games. Watashi beat Avarice, who tried to go full stall with a Scraggy, and that did not work at all. This was Watashi doing real good. I don't have much else to say aside from like he just played this stall matchup very well.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's generally difficult when you're like playing against stall, but if you can put it off, it's really good.
Mm-hmm. Like I really look really like it. I really don't think this is a great matchup by any means. He just really played this totally correct. Like his offensive mons were Scarf Gorgeist, an AV throw, I'm pretty sure it was AV, and a Silvally Ice. That's not what you're supposed to break stall with.
Nah, dude, this game should never have been won. Like you look at the previews and you just like, well, FLC has lost this. You would click off and then you click back on and you realize, oh, how the fuck did he win this?
Everything went entirely his way. Just played this like every which way. It was very strong. It was even physical Silvally Ice, not even Calm Mind, which pressures Pyukumuku much better. Like Jesus.
That's yeah.
Yeah, 56 turns to dismantle stall. with a team that really should not have. That was that was something.
Yeah, 100%.
And then the last thing was Sigenider versus Banks, which was a pretty interesting offense game. I think Sigenider also just played this really well. Um, got a lot of solid pressure mode, like got up hazards, and the kills were hazards.
Mm-hmm.
That was really the big thing here. Normally, you get up hazards as like a trade, you're wasting turns, but Schneider just got up hazards really early, and then still just got way more kills and did way more damage. In general, was doing much better than Banks. Um,
Yeah, Banks I think underestimated or overestimated the power of Pincer or the defense of Roselia. Like, because losing Pincer to Rose there when you should have checked it was huge in the grand scheme of things.
yeah, that definitely did not help. Like Schneider just kind of buttoned all over him like that, as Banks was
Mm.
just not like the hit like this. The Hitmonchan was 4 KOing the Sand Slash, and the Pincer was 3 KOing the Rose, and it was just all way too slow. It was
Yeah,
not enough
100%.
damage output to keep him in the game at all. Her,
Yeah,
him, I don't remember with Banks. I don't remember.
I think it's a her. I think it's a her
You mean
from
you
those
think
hopes.
they're a her? I know it's is not how you refer to any.
Yeah,
It
we just
doesn't.
call
I
them them.
don't know. It doesn't matter. We got Tasker versus Kushalos. This is like a fun game. I'm really glad it happened because both their teams are out, but they're fun to watch. But my God, the ending of this game was just something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I like
Oh,
both of their teams, but yeah, this game was
this game was just whack. You had the stun fist, the not the stun fist, the scun tanks double downing on each other. You had you had air balloon victory bell from Kush's side, which I fucking love that set. Getting immediately discharge paired by Tasker's Electros. Um, you have Kush's Oricorio just not being able to kill the eel switching in at like 20. Everything's going wrong for Kush, and Tasker has this whack Flyinium Tailwind Swana. And then Kush just kind of sets up with Silvally Fairy when it looks like he's totally lost, and it just cleans. It was just
yeah,
it was just so bizarre. Like he literally just swords dances with the fairy and wins just out of nowhere.
yeah. He's lost, and then he won. Like, it was really weird. It really did look like the SS Silvalis with the buffed multi attack. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean it was just dropping things on Tasker's very offensive team. Just everything died.
Yeah, 100.
And then the other one was Snaga versus Royesk. I think Snaga just played this one much better.
Yeah, I mean
They both
that's
had
a
fun
given.
stuff,
With
but you know.
yeah, I don't like Royeska's team just because it's quite passive and the fighting resist is Silvali.
Yeah, and
Assuming it's
only
fairy, right?
Silvally, nothing else. Well, no, this Quillfish, but that like doesn't really count.
Yeah, Quillfish is not a valid resist, and it just seems so slow. Like, I think it's Scarf. I think it's Scarf Lantern, but I mean, still, it's like that's not something that you can be
Mm.
offensively pressuring stuff with. And
We should
yeah,
specify
generally his team, I think.
it's Silvally Ghost, not Fairy or Poison. There's like 3 Silvally
Oh,
fighting resists. The issue
I see.
really
I
being
see.
if someone brings Fighter plus a good Pursuiter, what do you do?
It's not even like fighter plus pursue. It's like girder, and then they pressure the Quillfish. Like, then you
Or
just
that,
lose.
yeah. Like it has problems, but I think it was a fun team, and it really wasn't the matchup as much as just Snaga played this better. Like it came down not to Primeape just buttoning, but really to just Snaga getting a lot of things right. And I guess yeah, the bigger issue is just Roy's team was kind of passive and not doing as much damage.
Yeah,
Um,
I think. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. There, it's just with Royesque's team. I feel like he didn't have the like it looked fine, but he didn't have the tools to really just go after Snagger. Whereas Snagger did. Like he had the Primeape, he had the Aggron, he had the Rotom, and he was just like, I'm gonna just be pressing like attacks for this entire game, and if when you get your offensive momentum, you're not gonna get it back. So yeah,
hmm,
I think Snag is also a really high quality player, and Royesque might not have been used to that.
maybe yeah. Um, the Oras was interesting. This was Bobby Dagan versus Blue IM. Um,
Is it
bo-
interesting?
both of them were using team. Well, I think it was just interesting because okay, so they're both reusing like old teams that they brought, so nothing like new interesting there. But Bobby's definitely the person you'd favor like 1,000% to win this. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and Blue IM takes like a really early lead, but keeps playing it very very strangely in many ways. Um, but still like almost manages to get it down to a roll in his favor to win the game. Um, Bobby ends up cleaning late game. It again looks like he's gonna lose. Cleans the late game with a sub Leichy Drifloom sweep, but it was really interesting just because he got like a real like a not an unfavorable roll to kill Blue IM's Statland after 2 layers of spikes. That ended up calling the game. Whereas normally I would have definitely favored Bobby by a lot in this. It actually came down like Blue IM should have won this game. Still made a bunch of
Yeah.
whack plays that I do not understand in any way. Um, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's weird there.
I mean, yeah, good players still. The, the thing about good players is that they will always give themselves a shot. Like even if it's like a small chance, or even if they have a really bad matchup, they'll always somehow manufacture a okay. If this crits, I win, or if this misses, I win. Um, Whereas a lot of players will just collapse into a 0% losing, like a 0% winning end game. And I
Mm-hmm.
think Bobby did that. Like he did well to, even though like he had a horrific start, he did well to keep himself in it. Even though you would have favored him from the beginning, but given the circumstances, he did well.
Pretty much, yeah. Black White was extra silly. Anti brought a funny Regigigas Gotharita team. King Why Not brought a team where the theme was setup sweepers that you wouldn't expect to set up the way they do. There's a Life Orb Sword Stance Vileplume, a Sub Salic Belly Drum Hypno, and a Sharpen
Like, what's that
Double
Porygon?
Edge Porygon. And Anti had everything. It was really funny though, because Anti had everything to shut down these whack sweepers. He had the Goth for Vileplume. He had Scarf Shiftry to come in on the Hypno and beat it after the Salic, and then Curse Muck to beat the Porygon. It was a really it was funny. I enjoyed it. King Wanna did not win. It was a real rough matchup. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I
It
mean,
was suicide. It was the Bayonet that Suicide Sunny Dade, so the Victory Bell could come in as well. It was just wild.
yeah, I mean, has Anti lost his main ult by the way? Because why is he playing under that
Yeah,
Anti?
he lost his main out a long time ago. He's been playing under like that Ante and Ante with 2 Ys and for a while. Like he's lost it for like over a year and never bothered to reset.
God damn it, Anti.
Uh,
Yeah, I guess this game's fun.
mm. And then you had Bughouse versus Byron as more DPP stuff happened. I don't know. This one was a little weird. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
much. I don't really have much to comment on unless you do.
Not really, bro. Not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
He did bring
I,
a Persian though, which I've never seen, and actually like showed up pretty
it did
well.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, the bite
because
did bits.
it has the technician bite to hit Mischievous much better than Perugly can. So that was pretty interesting actually. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I like Bughouse. He's a cool guy.
yep, Bughouse took that, but still, neither of these teams are in. So all those players we mentioned, uh, they're out. So that hits the teams that are out. Now we get to go to, oh no, the Dracloaks we still have to get to. But now we get to Meowstics versus Clay Dolls. My team stuff. Yay.
Cool.
Um, I definitely think going into this, we had a pretty good shot to like at least tie and do well.
Mm-hmm.
Although it turns out a tie would not have gotten us in. Dracloaks won. We had to win this. Um, but this was kind of like a better. We almost did better than I expected. Really, like some really strong early leads was
Yeah.
surprising, especially in SS. So in SS, Clay Dolls, as we've said before, have been really on top and doing well in this meta. But we picked up a 2-1 win. Um, we had Asa beating TJ. This was uh, this was an interesting game. this was a very how to really talk about this. I think TJ. So TJ had magnetic flux cling clang, and a Zwilus, um, and an offensive core consisting of Unpheasant, Galarian Rapidash, Gorgeist, and it was all just kind of very weird. This is a
Mm.
team that honestly I would be very concerned to bring as something that just feels like it really should have been very unreliable. And in this game, it really did not work out for him at all. I feel like most of what he brought was just um, stuff that you can't that you yeah I wouldn't rely on this kind of team. I think it can definitely match up some stuff pretty well. I think it has a lot of merit. Um, but a lot of this team just felt extremely questionable to me. And overall, it did not work, and Asa was just very much in the lead the whole time. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. It just felt like TJ just got pressured out of the game. Like he has a lot of setup pressure on his team, and a lot of overloading on stuff like Stunfisk, but he never overloaded the Stunfisk. Like by the time he overloaded the Stunfisk, the game was basically gone. So I don't know. Just
yeah,
kind of
yeah, and Asa had like a lot of. There were a few like full paras and early paras and all this kind of stuff, and TJ was definitely mad. But honestly, like I don't know what to say about how he would have really won this anyway. Like the one thing really going for him was Carmine Rapidash, which our team was not great about. We have like Specs Rhyme can kind of 1v1 it. T Wave Stunfisk stops the setup. But the only faster thing is Scarf Golduck, which is not what you want revenging a Rapidash. And it didn't do it. It was his late game thing that he was playing for, not like an early game pressure breaker type thing. He really left it for a while before trying to do anything. And that did not work in his favor at all. Really weird one.
mm, yeah. I don't know. I think Asa had a lot in the back, and you know it could have got really bad for TJ,
Mm-hmm.
and it did. It did end up getting really bad for TJ. So yeah,
Yeah,
I guess that's the game.
and I guess I'll go right to me versus Brandon because I kind of feel the same way about Brandon's team, where this is stuff that can absolutely work, but you stacked on so many unreliable Pokemon. You've got like a Zwilus, um, the
Very
Kling
similar team as well.
the Kling Clang. Yeah, they're both very similar with the fat Zwilus, Gorgeist, Unpheasant, Kling Clang stuff. But all these
I
Mons, like
actually really like your team.
my team, thank you. Yeah, I built it around Maractus, which is something you had briefly mentioned to me, and I was like, wait, that actually seems kind of good. Because what if I could spike, but instead of Roselia, it can actually like not die to Sand Slash and shit. And it spreads
Mm.
knockoff for things like Boots on Pheasant. I really do like Maractus. It's nothing crazy. It's like maybe C plus or whatever, but like I think it works totally.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I do like it a lot as well.
but the thing about Maractus is it's still like a functional basic spiker that does its shit. Um, Brandon has much more standard stuff, but also like I don't know. I feel like you're packing on like this Wireless and the Gorgeist and the Clink Clang. That's a lot of unreliable stuff that can go wrong. And I picked up some early like a couple real useful things happened in this game. There was a power whip dodge that I appreciated. Later on, there were some full pairs. I think I definitely think I had a good edge in this game, regardless. But I don't know. Like my biggest, I guess, what personal rationalization, because I'm not the one to talk about myself getting hacked, is that like I really feel like between both these teams, this is the kind of stuff that happens when you use a lot of Pokemon that can be really unreliable. Whereas, like on my team, I've got some whack shit, but for the most part, I'm still relying on offensive Life Orb, special Galarian Rapidash, and offensive Phalanx to do a lot of breaking. And those two things don't really just randomly fuck up for no reason. They don't like randomly get completely match upped out of a game or like just miss all their
Mm.
moves or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
and Brennan also played this incredibly weird. They sacked their Zwilus when I still had a Galarian Rapidash in the back, which is really dangerous because it was his only check to Calm Mind, which I ended up being. Um,
Mm.
Especially because his team very slow. Only Scarf on Pheasant is that fast, and I knocked it off literally turn one. So we had to keep in mind it was a very slow team that was going to have problems with the Rapidash, and I don't think he really played around it well. Also got Kling Klang very weakened just to get a Toxic off on Stunfisk. Um, yeah, I don't know. This was odd. I just kind of wanted to use these games to talk about unreliable Pokemon because these two teams definitely can totally work out. Especially like you just bring them in a one-off game, I get it. But my like large feeling after winning both these games was that they really stacked on a bunch of unreliable things, and it just did not work out in their favor.
Yeah, I feel like that's the generally been the name of the game in SS. I feel like that's part of the reason why they've been so successful. It's because the meta is just unreliable in nature,
Mm,
and
I'm not talking about overall
like
like meta unreliability. I mean like on an individual Pokemon level, things like Zweilous and offensive Gorgeist and Unpheasant are like really good, but also the kind of mons that are more likely to be completely shut down and not useful in the game. And it's like when you're stacking all those together, that's not a meta unreliability thing. That's your team using a
mm,
lot of shaky mons all together. I'll use like
yeah, no,
one or two of those, but I want the rest of my team to be solid as shit.
yeah, but yeah, I think the meta facilitates that a little bit, where you have Stevel in this meta in particular.
Mm.
Your team wasn't overly good versus Stevel, but his team was much better. So in the event that you did bring a Thievul or you did bring a like I don't know, um, just like no toxic spike immunity, his like plan becomes much more valid over time, especially since he's really just overloading on that Stunfisk. But the team ended up being really good versus the stuff that he ended up using.
Mm. And I will say, I had two teams that I was testing with this week. One of them was like another very standard Thievul type thing that I've been bringing a lot, and the other one was this, which I made in part because I've been using a lot of Thievul. I have been weak to T spikes before. A couple other things have been like kind of shitty versus that I thought this team did much better. I've never really used the special rapid. Like I'm the one who really started pushing Sword Stance pads, so I thought special would be very different. Phalanx is something I've got like zero usage on. This is definitely not the kind of thing I normally bring, so it could have absolutely um, messed up their prep. Like I do at least understand that a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other
So
SS game, not much to talk about. Both the series was already over. We'd already won. So both Bugsy and Katut brought more silly things. Bugsy was like a thing he just kind of slapped together. I didn't even know the final product. It definitely is like it looks more standard. It just has some massive weaknesses and is slow and kind of whack. And Katut has just like a complete meme team. Hail thing with Ice Cube and Auroraville, Alolan Vulpix, and it ended up winning because literally nobody knew how Ice Face worked as an ability. This was just kind of silly. Turns out it
yeah,
doesn't restore every turn in Hail. It only restores if Ice Cube switches into Hail or the turn Hail is set. But otherwise, the Ice Face doesn't just regenerate in Hail, so it just stays at 130 speed. Whereas Bugs in there thought he could hit it, and then the Ice Face was going to come back and it'd be slower again. But that's not how it works. But Katut also did not realize that. Like he said in chat, wait, what happened to my Ice Face? But yeah, like that was why he ended up winning. Whereas like Bugsy went for what otherwise would have been the correct play: knock off the Salic Berry, activate Ice Face, it slows down again. But then it didn't slow down, and he had nothing faster than Ice Cube. There was no Scarf on the team. Its fastest mon was a Bolton.
that's
So
incredible.
yeah, it was no priority either. Like I said, this was just like kind of a whack team he threw together, and I had no idea what the final product was. So
It's cool though.
yeah.
I guess it's cool that we saw that face thing.
Mm. SM though, Cladle's been very good. Yandon and Squash holding it down, and we ended up 2-0ing them in SM. And this was really the big thing that I think put us over the edge. Winning SS, cool. Uh, Something we definitely could have done. Winning SM, quite strong, was real nice. Specs had to sub in for Rob Jr., who was kind of busy, and kind of demolished Yandod. I was very happy with this game. I think Specs um, played it very well and had the tools to win and really just went in.
Yeah, I think Specs played this really well. Just super efficient. I really enjoyed how he played this game. So yeah, very good job on
Mm.
his part.
Um, this was finally the week where we just reused two older teams. Although, unlike you guys just reusing like stuff from Snake, these were both things we'd built earlier in the tour. Specs was using my grass spam team, which I'm just a big fan of. I really like this team. It's not without its flaws and weaknesses, but I'm really happy it did some strong work here. And Specs just like ended up getting a lot of turns very right and playing this.
Yeah, he played really well.
Yeah,
I really can't stress enough how well he played this game.
yeah, I was very happy about this. Yandad had started out with the 4-0, and I think now they ended up 4-3. Although they definitely got hacked real bad, whatever that game was. Like week 5, that was really unlucky. I think it was versus Bag of Tricks.
Mm-hmm.
So they probably should have been 5-2 off that, but still, definitely a bit of a come down for them. Very impressive start to their tour, still having like a top 5 record, I'm sure, and this is like their first PU team tour. But a bit of a slow ending for them. The other game was Raichi versus Squash. Raichi were using our this like Stetland Clefairy balance that I think um,
Sucks.
sucks.
It could work. No, it doesn't suck. I just think it would kind of be funny. It just doesn't look. It looks so weird.
Yeah, it's a very weird team. I never knew how to feel about it, and I'm pretty sure it's 2-0 now, and it worked out both times. And I'm still very, I don't know. I'm weird on this team. It's odd. I can't really tell if it's good or just a fluke. Um, but I think Raichi also played this. Like I was very happy with how both Raichi and Specs um, played these games for sure. I think our team really showed up this week. Um,
Yeah.
nailing a lot of close calls and stuff with like playing around choice locked primate and stuff. And
Yeah. Raji could have lost really like he could have lost when the Stoutland got freezed, and then it could have gone really downhill from there. But luckily, I think they did well to salvage it back and
yeah,
yeah, just generally play well.
yeah, I was gonna say like the Stoutland freeze in particular could have made this so much worse because like it was getting fucked up for a real good play. He stayed in with Stoutland on a choice locked primate, knowing it was gonna go for ice punch. Got frozen as his punishment. I was like, fuck, but no, it ended up working out, and then like a really close game. It came much more down to the wire than it probably should have. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, just cool overall. Well played on Rachi's end.
Mm-hmm. TSR versus Lighthouses. TSR continues to just be the unluckiest person this tour. Oh my fucking god! In this game, I will at least say he kind of fucked up and then got like way over punished for the for the fuck up he made. Uh, but still, Jesus, TSR is just not lucky. Lighthouses brought a Max Spadef Behem, a defensive Max Spadef, which I think is just uh, very silly to use in ORAS when you're using Behem
Yeah, that
and
was.
you're using a set that gets 2 KO'd by Monferno
Yeah,
on a
Ted's a big
defensive
fan of that.
Behem.
He's a huge fan of Spadepia. I'm not huge on it, but I mean, sure,
Mm-hmm.
it's not bad. But I mean, from the offset, I was like, oh my god, TSR is getting unlucky again because of the sludge bomb roll
Yeah,
on the
it
PM.
it took
Just like
33 on the first Roselia Sledge Bomb, and then it took 29 on the second one. And if it had just died, TSR is really in a good position here. T Spikes Rose is just so useful versus Lighthouse's team. He's got all the tools to play around Lighthouses that he needs, and then without Rose and without the T Spikes pressure, um, things just become significantly harder to make work. Like,
yeah,
yeah, that
it's
just kind
just
of
so it's
sucked.
just
The big thing
yeah.
was
I
though
think that was
he could have leaf stormed. It was leaf storm Rose. He was just like, well, it's
nah.
probably
Lisa was not the
it's either AV or mixed defenses, and Sludge Bomb is such a good roll in my favor that he goes for Sludge Bomb. It lives on one, and that was really the game where I think like we definitely should have won this game otherwise. or
Yeah,
not.
they
We
should have
weren't
tested.
guaranteed. I think we had a good matchup to start out with, and I think we just still would have been favored with that good matchup. That's all.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Like TSR did okay. You just got just
Yeah,
unfortunate. I don't think you call it hacks. It's just unfortunate.
yeah, it just fucking sucks. Uh, Little Bird versus Lambovino. We just loaded him up with a Jad stall because I haven't liked their black white. I think that's been the worst thing from the clay dolls by a decent margin. Their other tiers are like range from their godlike SS and great SM to like pretty good ORAS and DPP. I haven't liked their black white, and we're like, okay, we can just load up some Hajad stall, and I think that's probably gonna work, and it did. How about that?
Incredible.
Yeah.
To be honest, Lamborghini's team looks very, very like Oras, just Oras.
Yeah, like your kind of basic offense stuff, but without the black white like whack jank that could really put in a lot of work. If you know what I mean. Like black white needs some more horse.
Mm.
And this was like a very straight up basic offense. The like most horse mana he had, I guess, was the Trick Room Behem. And that's like a crazy good mon, but it's still like a pretty straightforward thing. I don't know. This was there wasn't,
It's an expected thing.
yeah, there wasn't jank here. It's like, oh yeah, the basics of the Zeb Striker, the Statland, the Jump Left, VM. We know how all this works. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then there was Drud versus Brufasa. This was another. This was a game we should have won, and we got unlucky. It's kind of. That's kind of how it'd be. That's
Yeah,
this is the
it's hard to
second
beat Drud.
time. This is the second time in a row that Brufasa has lost, in large part because the very first ice beam his opponent hit in the entire game froze. Uh, yeah, Brufasa decided we'd already won. He wanted to bring a fun baton pass, but like this team totally would have worked. He baton passed the Kingler really early. The problem was Drud freezes the Kingler. It thaws out because of Lum, but then that lets Drud toxic it with Polytoad, which he wouldn't have been able to do, and put the Kingler on a timer. And without that, Kingler was going to get more kills, do more pressure, and then Brufasa had like good chances for this end game. But without that, there was just really nothing to be done. Like, that's game. You can't do anything about it. So,
Yeah, it's just generally unfortunate. Drud's team looks super weird. Um, I don't know why Bufasa's team, even though it's more memey in nature, it looks more standard.
I mean,
But
it's a Mimi baton pass. Drud's team is pretty standard though.
is it? To me, it looks really like really off kilt with like the Murkrow, the Zangief,
The
Kadabra. That's
the
like a
only
lot of
really weird thing that stands out to me is Polytoad as opposed to your more standard like Gastrodon or Quagsire or whatever. But otherwise,
I don't know.
this
It's just
kind of
structurally
just
weird.
looks like DPP Mons. I guess yeah, maybe more structure wise. But yeah, that's it. Meowstics in the cut. Clay Dolls still in playoffs anyway, so the loss isn't a big hurt to them. But
Very clutch win.
yeah,
Very clutch win.
I'm real happy. I don't know that any of my teams have ever made playoffs in PPL before.
Oh my god, that's a stat. How many PPLs have
I'm
you made?
not
6.
I'm not sure. I might have made in one. I genuinely don't remember, but I've been saddled on some bad teams before. Um, yeah, even the ones that I haven't gone 0-6 in, I've typically not been on great teams. So I do think this might be the first time. But yeah, I'm still a little sad we went like just the bad luck in those two. Like we're 1-5 in Oras. We're like 3-4 in. I'm sorry, we're 1-6 in Oras, and we're 3-4 in DPP. And I just don't think we should be. I think our old gen records look real shit, and our players have just been taking like dumb beatings. Um, but it is what it is, and we're somehow 5-2 in. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, 5-2 in black white. Hell yeah.
Let's go back white. Woo.
Yeah, I don't really know how that happened because our black white plan was like me and Lilbur, and for whatever reason that worked. Probably shouldn't have, uh, but it do be like that sometimes.
Yeah, black white is one of them ones where you can just put anybody in. To be honest.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Lily's actually just picked it up pretty well though. Like, we've had some fun stuff. We've had like the SD Vileplume and the Scraggy and like some weird stuff, but I think Lil Burr's picked up the tier pretty nicely. So,
Yeah, I agree.
all right, last series: Drakloaks versus Carcoals. Drakloaks need to win to have a shot, and they did win. They picked up this series. They beat the Carcoals. It just didn't end up mattering because Meowstics had already won by the time they like halfway through the week. We'd already won and sealed it up. But they still finished it out and gave it their best and got a win. And we can go over those games. 3-0ing the Carcoals in SS. I'm not entirely sure how much of that is due to like we're already in playoffs. We're not gonna try too hard.
100%, 100% of it. Not even. It wouldn't. It would not have been a 3-0 if
Well, no, it also wouldn't have been a
the
3-0
Carcos.
because Confide played real bad and just lucked Llamas at the end.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely not their starting three in SS. It's definitely
No, yeah,
what
they
is it
haven't.
called?
Yeah, it was Llamas, Sabella, and Expulso, which is not what their SS has been in past weeks. It's been
Their SS has been so good, dude.
yeah.
Their SS has
In
just been
past weeks,
really well
they've been
balanced.
starting Star and Feliburn and Kepi. That was what we got last week. Um,
They also have Eternal Spirit though, don't they? Or
yeah,
maybe
I
I'm
think so.
mistaken.
I don't think he's played
That's a
though.
scary SS, bro.
I don't
That's a
think he's
scary
played.
SS.
Yeah, but they gave their other people a chance. I mean, I will say Llamas should have won. Confide never should have won this game. He played real bad, got demolished by a Wigglytuff because he just did not play around this at all. Like Jesus, Wigglytuff picked up two real important kills. Um,
Wiggly, woo.
hell yeah. But then at the end of this game, I'm trying to skip through because I don't remember what hacks. Oh yeah, it was a Stunfisk that just hacks its way through at the end. Um, by critting Atomic Llama's Galarian Rapidash. And I was like, well, that's fucking whatever.
Just anti-karma is
I'm
when
just mad
Stunfisk
because of how
hacks.
bad he got demolished by Wigglytuff. He led Appleton and Apple acided the Wigglytuff. Like, hello.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like Stunfisk is just a one where you just need anti-karma for, and you never got any of the anti-karma.
Yep, yep. It was just dumb. Sabella versus Lopunny Kicks. This was actually a fun game. I think it's worth checking out. It was never linked. No one was spectating it. It just kind of popped up at the end, where Kicks played really well with their Sand Slash early game to beat Sabella's Unpheasant and get rocks up in like a really like just excellent excellent couple of turns from them. They ended up getting rocks and two spikes and killing Sabella's Unpheasant by turn 13 with that Sand Slash. And that's pretty much like the big thing I think was worth checking out. I really liked that. And after that, that was pretty much it for Sabella because the hazards were just real huge.
100%. Not really much to say on that game, to be honest. The Hazards killed the game. It felt like Black White at a certain point.
Yeah, rocks, two spikes, and T spikes. It was yeah. But like Sabella, it wasn't like Sabella had no defog or anything. They just got messed up by that Sand Slash. I was like, holy shit. And then Expulso versus Yuri just kind of happened.
Yeah, I mean, Ziri's just a better player here. I think not really much else to say.
I do wonder if it was Lum Pincer though, because that sleep powder dodge. But yeah, Expulso made like a really weird double where they thought it might have been a Scarf Pincer, and it totally wasn't. They just got bodied, and that really fucked him up. Like it very obviously was not Scarf Pincer, and they got very messed up by that.
Yeah, I mean that's just a really blunt way of. It's like, yep, it could have been Scarf Pincer, but it just definitely wasn't. You got
No,
bodied, son.
it absolutely was not Scarf Pincer in this game. That was just not a question. Anyway, SM was a bit more interesting. We had LST beating Luthier. Um,
I rate both players here, to be honest. I think LST brought the cooler team, but Luthier's team wasn't uncool. I thought I enjoyed
no, they
both
both
teams,
had
to be honest.
really interesting stuff. We saw a Rotom spin, Probopass, Ninjask. This is a
There's loads of stuff there.
this is a
Was it
different.
Z-Dig in the end?
This team kind of hit different. What in the end?
Was it the Z-Dig? Z-Dig. What's it called? Ninjask.
I don't think it ever showed.
I think I might have heard something about.
Yeah, no, it
Z-Dig,
never.
but
It just sword stanced. It never showed an item. Totally might have been though. I wouldn't have been surprised. LST just ended up
Jesus
kind of
Christ, though.
winning with Cryogonal very early because Luthier's team was kind of heat. Didn't work so much. You had just a bad Cryogonal weakness, which is unusual but happens.
Yeah, I think just generally it's the team likes like a Spadef tank. When you're relying a lot on Regirock there to be your Cryogonal switcher, and which is fine versus most like defensive cryos. But if it's a mixture of offensive and it's also like a Guts Ursa pressing, it's hard to keep out. Like you probably should have sacked something in hindsight, just not lose the Regirock.
Yeah, you couldn't lose Regirock, but it was gonna be tough. The other SM game was. I will say for this, the Dracloaks did pull out a win, but this was the second game that they very clearly should not have won. Telenet versus Bag of Tricks. Tricks got frozen. Like Telenet brought some heat stuff. Wasn't really trying, I think, because we had already won, or maybe that's just what they would have done. I don't know. But they brought like a Specs Sensu and a Swords Dance Quillfish and a Specs Odd No, and all this kind of funny stuff. And like it totally wasn't working because Trix just had a basic team and played fine until he got a big freeze on the Silvally Ferry because sometimes freezes win games.
Yeah, I really didn't like Talent's team. It's just super passive, but I mean, he got the hacks.
I mean, yeah, it's just it's a meme team, but he got a freeze, and that's what you do.
That's what happened.
Yeah. You had Aldo versus GGOPW. Aldo probably shouldn't have lost this game, to be honest. Scarf Relicanth did a lot of work very early on. But then GGOPW crit O-code Aldo's Mischievous. And that certainly did not help. Got a full para, but like a full para plus missing head smash chance isn't that big of a deal. Whereas that crit Oko kind of messed him up. I'm not sure that Aldo would have won though, to be honest, because he never set webs.
Yeah, and Blim was looking scary after you lose the Relicanth, to be honest.
Yeah, you had to set webs, and then after that, I think you might have been fine. The crit didn't help, but the other big thing is he just sacked Leavanny to Floatzel, and they should have gone up, dude. He should have led Leavanny, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. You needed the Relicanth. I think you used the Relicanth too early, in my opinion. I think you play for it late game and just try and pressure and make sure the Drifblim doesn't win in time. That's all I think. But yeah, I think he messed up by using the Relicanth too early, even though it did work.
Yeah, but I'm just not. Karkles have been a really good team, but they're ORAS. 1-6, with Aldo being 1-4 and Expulso being 0-2. And in none of these games have I been impressed with like anything they've done. If there's a team they win ORAS against, it's definitely us because they're playing the Meowstics in playoffs, and my God, TSR is unlucky. But our only ORAS win is against Aldo. So this.
What's worrying me with this ORAS slot, honestly, is that they can't even cheese properly.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Aldo hacks us. That was their one win. Their one win. Aldo hacks TSR. Although this was the one game where it was like half hacks, half we might have lost, as opposed to just like straight up dumb shit. So that was like their one game, week 1, and since week 1 they have not won an ORAS game.
Yeah, this is the big concern for this ORAS slot is just generally the lack of knowledge in the team to not be able to build something that can cheese people, as dumb as that sounds, and also like not building something that's like reliable, like because this was clear attempt at cheesing whoever this is.
Yeah. GGOPW.
It just you should not be trying to cheese GGOPW. That's like not something that I think is a valid strategy. but I mean, still,
No,
you need to have
he's
some
just
confidence to
he's
use him
not the
for that.
person you need to cheese. But yeah, it didn't work out. I will say it like it's playoffs. They're probably going to try a little harder. Maybe if they can get like a good eliminated ORAS player to just pass them anything, I think that'd be really huge. But their ORAS has just not been there. But like I said, TSR super unlucky. Their only ORAS win has been against us. So if there's a time for them to pull ORAS back, it is this playoff game. You know,
Fair enough, yeah.
before they're fighting like Teddy or whatever, whoever. So there's that. Evagero beat DNB in the battle of tied for best black white record. Thank God, because DNB's just been real lucky, and I think him having the best black white record over Evagero would just be so stupid. Um,
Yeah, Evie deserves it as well.
yeah,
They've been really on top of Black White.
Eevee's been real good, and DNB's been real lucky. And that's not to say he's terrible. I just really think Eevee. I would have liked to see Eevee win a lot more, and I was happy that they did. And they even brought a
Yeah,
Scraggy. Let's fucking go, Scraggy.
yeah.
Um,
I rate DNB a lot as a player. Um, so I'm glad to see that they've done decent in this tour. But I think Evie deserved it overall.
yeah, I will say DNB should have won. This was like the game, honestly, that I've been most impressed with them, and I haven't really been impressed with their stuff. Um, but they brought a Memento Jump Bluff into a Rock Polished Torterra with an early Spike Stwebble, and it all went perfectly. It totally would have worked. They probably could have won this game. Um, but late game, DNB was very weak to Stunfisk, and I think they were afraid that they just would have lost to Evagero Stunfisk if they got unlucky with the Sleep Talk rolls. Um, so they tried to preserve their Rock Polished Torterra and just Earthquake Evagero's Scarf Golduck instead of Woodhammering it and dying to the recoil. Uh, but Golduck lived the Earthquake on 2%, which I never actually checked the rollout. I'm going to do that right now. Um, Golduck versus Torterra. Uh, an Adamant Earthquake does 64 to 76. And that one did 74. Okay. So it would have taken 100% max roll to KO. Unless it was like Earthplate or something. So Earthquake never actually killed. So this was just a throw. You have to Woodhammer no matter what. It wasn't even a roll. But once Torterra didn't kill, Scarf Golduck just killed 4 Mons and won because the rest of his team just lost.
Yeah,
Jeez. Okay, never mind. That was just a fucking throw. I mean, Stunfisk might have won the late game, but you can try. Like if it gets bad sleep talk rolls or whatever, your Simisear, your Throw, they can potentially like Throw can rest up, Simisear can nasty plot and break it. Um, like really, you just need Simisear to nasty plot once and then Fire Blast, and if Stunfisk lives and kills you, you've got Zebstrika. So yeah, this was just a complete throw. Never mind. Okay, moving on.
it needed some. Yeah, I think it needed some manufacturing. But yeah, I don't think Earthquake was the play that I think Woodhammer. To be honest, even regardless of the roll, even if it was like a 50 roll, for example, I
Yeah,
think still Woodhammer's the play.
you don't do that. And last we have Haste Up versus General Annoyance. General Annoyance, I think played pretty well to take this one.
Yeah,
Got some turns right. Even got messed up with like an early just crit Oko on their pincer that kind of sucked. Um, Haste Up had a pretty funny team with
yeah. There was a crit and
a double static type thing with Raichu and Ampharos. Well, I mean they got crit, but they were not winning this
yeah,
even with the crit. Um, their only win con was staticking Baruglay. That's the thing.
yeah. It was just yeah. That was the part that basically was going to define the game. The triple electrics is just like you really need static things like Perugly and
Oh
just
yeah, sorry,
general
triple electric, not double.
fasting.
Yeah, their only plan for fast things was to have 3 static mons, and it just didn't really work. Haysup's like the unluckiest player. I don't know why they would go for that, but whatever. And that was it. So Dracloaks are also out, which means no more players like Ziri and Slennet and Luthier and DNB and GGOPW. And we're moving on to playoffs with Carcoals versus Meowstics and Dens versus Claydolls. Lots of real fun things to look forward to. Um, I like LST versus Rob Jr. a lot. I like Soulgazer versus Yandod's finally happening. Um, Osh versus Katutverd, I think is fun. Um, yeah, lots of matchups. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, my personal favorite is Felly versus Bugsnator. I think that's gonna be a really good game.
Felly versus Bugnator is also cool. I just really hope. Have you seen the UU Open drama?
No.
Um, there was an activity call with CBU and High Impulse, and it seems like CBU just like totally made up and lied about the activity call.
Oh wait, no, I seen it.
But then
I've seen
like
it. I've heard
it
about this.
still in reality should have come down to a coin flip, and they coin flipped and CBU won that. And Bugsnator posted, "If this decision stays, I'm just fucking quitting Smogon." I don't know if they're overreacting or not, but I haven't seen them since, and they haven't talked in our team chat at all. It's only been a couple hours, but if this is real,
I, to be honest with you, I've looked over the things and I don't think it should have been a coin flip. I just think he was straight fishing for
I think
victories.
he was fishing, but I don't think a coin flip is the dumbest thing.
Maybe not the dumbest thing, but I still don't think it should have gone
Yeah.
through. I think either High Impulse gets the win or they get an extension or whatever.
Yeah. Whatever. Moving back to stuff. Nothing really stood out in usage tips that I wanted to talk about a lot. Um, Not usage tips, usage stats. Usage tips is for analyses. Yeah, nothing really crazy there. Um, can briefly chat about the sheet and the eliminated teams. So the Bearticks, the Drakloaks, the Auxiliaries, and the Clangs are all out. Um, these are the teams with like the real mixed records going down the sheet. Couldn't really pull some things together. Draklux ended up pretty negative in SM, being 9-12. I'm sorry, SS being 9-12. Sheet's not actually updated for this most recent week. I'm just kind of doing math in my head real quickly. Um, Bear Ticks were like 9-10. Auxiliaries, surprisingly though, this was like the one thing that made me go, Sheet stats might be interesting. Um, Auxiliaries are only 10-11 in SS, despite being the worst placed team by a mile. Um, Mostly managed to pull out pretty even in SS. Like week 6 they were 9-9, and then they lost 2-1 this week. But surprisingly not bad for them, especially considering like Meowstics are only 12-9, not super positive. The Dens are actually
Interesting.
very negative in SS. You guys are 8-12 in SS, and entirely carried by old
Nice.
gens. Um,
Nice. That's how I like it, bro.
Carkles and Claydolls much more positive. Carkles are well, they were 12-6 last week, and then this week they got 3-0, so back down to 12-9. Claydolls being 15-6 in SS, like much more positive. I was just surprised to see Auxiliaries doing so well there.
I mean, it's a variant C meta, and they also had a lot of like undeniable SS talent there. They've got a good few SS players on them. I mean, it's always going to happen when you have a good few players, but yeah, they had a bunch more SS talent than they did in older gens.
Yeah, like on the flip side, 2-13, no, 2-12 in SM for the Auxiliaries. Not great.
Yeah, I mean, it's the more skillful meta, so
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Clangs are like 6-8. Bearticks, 5-9. Yeah, not so good there. Black White a little more interesting. Bearticks going out of Black White after being 6-1, despite their Black White players alternating between Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm looking at Oras. That makes much more sense. Yeah, no, Bearticks were 6-1 in Oras with Bobby Dagan, so I'm sad to see him go out so fast. Drac looks positive Oras 5-2 with GGOPW. Um, Clangs 3-4 in Aura. no 3-3 because Keo Teddy dead gamed because they were doing real bad and Keo won the last 3 weeks. Auxiliaries 2-4 not doing so good there. Yeah, no, Black White Beartix did not do well. They played Anti and Chill Shadow, who got mad unlucky, and they ended up going 2-5. This is the other meta where like we're seeing someone go out real early who was real positive with DNB on the Dracloaks being the second best black white record being eliminated, but Clangs and Octilleries never put up much there. And then DPP, nothing too big from these teams. I definitely think we have the top 4 DPP players in the cut with like the Brufasa plus Specs combo, General Annoyance, Metal Gross, and Drud. Um, yeah, I just wanted to kind of go over the eliminated teams, see like here's how they did. You know, we're definitely losing some other people. Like DPP actually was the one that was really interesting. Had a lot of like the new people. You saw Spatial Rendezvous playing it. You saw ZS, Byron the Well jumping in for the first time. Um, Gafar Liquor Random Bughouse. A lot of fun people there. But
Yeah.
yeah, okay, that's about it. The only other thing to do is just hit up that gimmick corner, and then we'll call it a night.
Sweet.
You want to go first or me?
I think you go first.
Sure. So I use Maractus this week. I think it's actually pretty okay. It's like spikes, spreads knockoff, doesn't die to Sandslash. Everything I had already said. It's pretty much true about that. I'll also give a shout out to just Life Orb Special Galarian Rapidash. I don't think this mon's broken, but like this is the set that people have kind of forgotten about while using the other things because SD, Keyberry, Calm Mind Store Power stuff got a little more attention, whatever. And this has almost become like the down low set, but it's good because it really is immediately reliable. SD's not, Fat CM's not. This thing you can just hit a Life Orb Psychic. It's not that complicated, so I like it. That's about it. I really have not played in like 4 days because both my parents have needed to go to the hospital and been real sick and all that. So I got to get back on this grind and figure out. Like I haven't played a game with Flareon yet, and I've got PUPL games coming up real soon. So I'll try to get some better stuff.
Yeah, I hope your parents ended up healing.
They're gonna be fine. It just fucking sucks.
Yeah. Speaking of things that don't heal though. Sub SD Flame Charge Crush Claw type null does not heal. Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if it's good, but it has claimed a few lives in the games that I have played, just because it's so bulky that you just click sub, and if you manage to get a free sub, you can get multiple SDs because of how bulky it is. And then with Max Attack Crush Claw, you're just doing a lot of damage.
Yeah. I can imagine a lot of the times you're pivoting into like Unpheasant or Stunfisk or whatever if you're predicting a U-turn, and if that happens, God help you.
Yeah, like I've seen too many people switch Stunfisk into the type null to be comfortable, just because of the Rocky Helmet shenanigans. So you just EV it so that you can live Stunfisk Earth Powers and stuff like that. Max out the attack, give yourself a little bit of speed so you can, be threatening. Like, you're not like basically break a fodder once you've killed something. Then you just go to town. I feel like if you support it properly, I give it like a U-turner or like some parting shot support, you can really, really abuse it. You just do not want to have to switch it in. As long as you don't do that, you're good.
Yeah, that seems pretty fun. All right, well, thanks guys for tuning into like the late episode and the recap and all that nonsense. And we'll be back and we'll be doing more recaps and it do be like this sometimes.